She said he's gay, stop worrying, then they went on a trip together. When she first mentioned his name, it came out casually, almost like background noise while she scrolled through her phone. She said he was just a coworker who made everyone laugh, the kind of guy who always brought snacks to the office. I didn't pay much attention until one evening she told me he was gay, and she said it with that easy confidence that makes suspicion sound ridiculous. It was meant to close the door on any jealousy before it even started. I believed her because she said it while holding my hand, smiling in a way that made me feel stupid for doubting her. A week later, she started talking about him more. How funny he was. How he understood her taste in music. How he gave good advice. I tried to ignore it, but something in the tone of her voice began to change. The laughter lasted a little longer when she read his texts. Her phone was suddenly always face down on the table. When I walked into the room, the screen went dark as if it knew it had something to hide. He joined us for dinner one night. He was charming and confident. Exactly the kind of person who could blend in anywhere. He spoke with ease, made her laugh until her eyes watered, and told stories that made everyone at the table listen. I tried to like him, but I couldn't stop noticing the way he looked at her. It wasn't friendly. It was measured, deliberate, as if he was studying her face every time she smiled. She caught me watching once and whispered that I was being paranoid. I told myself she was right. Over the next few weeks, she began staying late at work. Meetings, she said. Always meetings. She came home smelling like a different perfume, one I hadn't bought her. She dressed better for the office now, took longer to do her hair, and started saying she needed more independence, more space to grow. I wanted to support her. I told myself that relationships change, that maybe I was just overthinking things. But that quiet feeling in my stomach kept whispering that something was wrong. Then one night she mentioned a group trip to Zanzibar. She said it like it was nothing, a quick getaway with friends to relax and recharge. I asked who was going, pretending not to care too much. She listed a few names I barely recognized, then casually added his name at the end. I froze for a second, and she noticed. She reached over, touched my arm, and said he was gay. She told me to stop worrying and that I was acting jealous again. Her voice carried a small edge, the kind that warns you to let it go if you want peace. I smiled and said it was fine, that she should enjoy herself. But my mind was already painting pictures of that island. The beaches, the bars, the way the night breeze would feel against her skin while she laughed beside him. I imagined him standing too close, her pretending not to notice, the two of them sharing private glances no one else would understand. I didn't want to believe it, but the thought wouldn't leave. It sat in my chest like a stone. The days leading up to her trip felt heavy. She packed carefully, bought new dresses, and even got her nails done in a shade of coral she had never worn before. She hummed while she packed, like someone preparing for a long-awaited escape. I helped her carry the suitcase to the car, and when she hugged me goodbye, she kissed my cheek instead of my lips. It was small, but it felt like a warning disguised as affection. That night, I couldn't sleep. I scrolled through our old pictures, wondering when the distance began. There were smiles in those photos that now looked rehearsed, eyes that seemed to be looking past me. I remembered the first time I told her I loved her, how she had looked at me with certainty. Now, even her laughter felt borrowed from someone else. I tried to distract myself by working late, going out with friends, pretending I didn't notice her silence. She texted me the first day of the trip saying she had landed safely and that the island was beautiful. I replied with a simple message telling her to enjoy it. She didn't text again that night. The next morning, I checked her stories. Nothing. No photos. No updates. Just a quiet account that had once shared every meal, every sunset. Something deep inside me already knew the truth I didn't want to face. The lie she had used to calm me was working too well. I wasn't angry yet, just numb. Because sometimes the most dangerous lies are not the ones shouted to deceive you. They are the ones whispered gently enough to make you feel safe, while everything you trust begins to fall apart. The first day she was gone, I told myself to stay calm. She sent a short message that she had landed safely, said the weather was perfect and the sea looked like glass. I replied with a smiley face and wished her fun. That night, I waited for her usual call, the one she never missed. It never came. The next morning, I told myself she was probably busy exploring, maybe the internet connection was bad. But deep down, the silence felt too deliberate to be accidental. On the second day, her messages grew shorter. Just a few words, no photos, no details. Her tone felt forced, like someone writing because they felt they had to. By evening, she stopped replying altogether. I opened her social media to see if she had posted anything. Nothing. Not a single update. For someone who shared every cup of coffee and every sunrise, that silence screamed louder than words. I tried to distract myself by going out with friends. But even sitting at the bar, I found myself checking my phone every few minutes. No notifications. My chest felt tight, and every thought turned into a question I didn't want answered. Around midnight, one of my friends leaned over and showed me something on his phone. He had been scrolling through a mutual acquaintance's feed and said he recognized someone. When I looked, my stomach dropped. It was a group photo taken at the same resort she mentioned. Palm trees, bright sun, smiles all around. But in the reflection of a girl's sunglasses, two figures stood close together. Her patterned dress, his blue shirt, her hand resting on his shoulder. It wasn't a hug, but it wasn't distant either. It was something in between, the kind of closeness that only makes sense when there is something to hide. My friend said it was probably nothing. I nodded and pretended to agree, but I couldn't unsee it. That night, I didn't sleep. I went through every photo, zooming in, analyzing shadows and reflections. I wanted to find another explanation, any explanation. Maybe he really was gay. Maybe they were just close friends. Maybe I was imagining things because I had too much time to think. But when I saw the second photo, all the excuses died in my throat. It wasn't on her page, but on the account of someone else from the trip. The sun was setting, the sand glowing gold. Two shadows stretched long across the beach. His and hers, perfectly intertwined. Hand in hand. I stared at that image for hours. It wasn't just the act of holding hands. It was the way the light hit them, like the sun itself was mocking me. It confirmed what my gut had been whispering all along. The man she told me not to worry about was the one she had gone searching for. The lie that once calmed me now sounded like a cruel joke. I didn't confront her right away. I needed proof, something undeniable. So I called the resort the next morning. My voice shook as I pretended to be her brother. The woman at the front desk was polite and cheerful. I asked if my sister was still checked in. She said yes, and that she had just gone out with her boyfriend for a day trip to a nearby island. My hand froze around the phone. The word echoed in my head until it didn't sound real anymore. Boyfriend. I thanked the woman and hung up. For a long time, I just sat there staring at the wall. The air felt heavy, and my body felt like it didn't belong to me. Every memory of her laughter, every moment we shared, started to replay like an old film unraveling at the edges. I saw all the signs I had ignored, all the little moments when my instincts had tried to warn me. The sudden perfume, the nervous laughter, the constant defense of him. I had been played perfectly, like a fool desperate to believe in a comforting lie. That night, I tried to eat but couldn't. I walked through the apartment that still smelled like her lotion, touched the things she left behind, wondering which ones were meant for me and which ones were souvenirs of him. I opened her drawer, looked at her travel bag receipts, saw the date of her flight, and realized she had booked everything weeks before telling me. It wasn't a spontaneous group trip. It was planned, detailed, deliberate. On the fourth day, I received a text from her. It was short. She said she missed me and that the island was magical. No mention of him. No mention of the word group. Just a picture of the sea. I stared at it for a long time before replying with a single word, enjoy. I put the phone down and went outside. The sky above the city looked dull, gray, ordinary. But for the first time in weeks, I saw things clearly. I finally understood that when someone lies beautifully, it isn't to protect you. It's to protect themselves while your trust becomes the currency they spend freely, knowing you'll never ask for change. When she finally came back, the first thing I noticed was how peaceful she looked. Her skin had a glow that only sunlight and secrets can create. She dropped her suitcase at the door, smiled wide, and said the trip had been amazing. She talked about the beaches, the laughter, the seafood dinners, and how the sunsets looked like they had been painted by God himself. I stood there listening, nodding, pretending every word didn't sound like an alibi. She scrolled through her phone and showed me photos. Group shots, ocean views, cocktails, but not a single picture with him. Not even one. It was too clean, too carefully edited, like someone had rewritten a story to remove a character they wanted me to forget. That evening she cooked dinner for us, something she rarely did anymore. She poured me wine, kissed my cheek, and said she missed me. I tried to match her warmth, but my smile felt heavy. The truth sat between us like smoke, invisible but choking. After we ate, she started unpacking, humming softly. I watched her move around the room, graceful and calm, as if she truly believed the lie could survive under my silence. I waited until nightfall. She was sitting on the couch scrolling through her messages when I placed the printed photo on the table. The one with their shadows on the beach. Two shapes perfectly linked by their hands. Her voice stopped mid-sentence. She stared at it, eyes narrowing as the color drained from her face. Her fingers trembled slightly when she reached for it. For a moment, she said nothing. Then she forced a smile and tried to laugh it off. She said it wasn't what it looked like, that it was just a playful picture taken by someone else. I didn't respond. I just looked at her in silence, letting the quiet stretch long enough for the lie to collapse under its own weight. I took my phone and scrolled to the recording I had kept from the hotel call. I pressed play. The receptionist's cheerful voice filled the room, saying the words that had kept me awake for nights. Your girlfriend and her boyfriend just checked out. The sound of her voice froze her completely. Her lips parted, but no words came. She just stared at me, wide-eyed, like a child caught stealing. The silence that followed was unbearable. The hum of the refrigerator, the ticking of the clock, every small sound grew louder. Then she started crying. At first it was quiet, then deep sobs that shook her shoulders. She said she didn't mean to, that it just happened, that she was confused and lost. She said he made her feel seen and that she thought it was harmless at first. I stood there, listening without interrupting. Every word felt rehearsed, like a script she had written for the moment the truth arrived. I asked one question. Is he gay? Her crying stopped instantly. She looked down, avoiding my eyes. The silence that followed told me more than any confession ever could. She wiped her tears and whispered that she was sorry, that she didn't want to lose me. She tried to move closer, reaching for my hand, but I stepped back. Her touch felt foreign now, like it belonged to another life. She spent the rest of the night trying to explain. She said the trip wasn't planned that way, that one night they drank too much, that the line between friendship and something else blurred. She said she didn't know how it happened, that she felt guilty the whole time. I wanted to believe her, but guilt after pleasure is not regret. It is fear of consequence. I could see it in her eyes. She wasn't sorry for what she did. She was sorry for being caught. I told her I needed time. She begged me not to leave. She said she would cut him off, delete his number, block him from everything. I told her not to bother. People don't block what they love. They hide it. She cried again, asking if I could forgive her. I told her forgiveness is easy, but respect is harder to rebuild, and I didn't have the energy to build what she had burned for fun. She slept on the couch that night. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, hearing her muffled sobs from the other room. Every memory we had together began to feel like a lie told by two strangers pretending to be in love. I thought about the man she swore was harmless, about the way she laughed at his jokes, about the perfume she wore that wasn't mine. I realized I had been living next to someone who treated truth like a costume, wearing it only when convenient. In the morning she made breakfast, pretending everything was normal. She smiled weakly and said she wanted to talk again. I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw a stranger wearing my girlfriend's face. I didn't say anything. I just walked past her, grabbed my keys, and left. Some truths don't need shouting. They echo on their own, louder than any argument could ever be. Weeks went by and the silence between us stretched into something heavy and permanent. She texted a few times, messages that started with casual greetings and ended with desperate explanations. She said she had been confused, that he had taken advantage of her vulnerability, that she hadn't meant to cross the line. I read every word without replying. Each message sounded like an excuse crafted to make her feel like the victim of her own choices. I deleted them one by one until my phone stopped lighting up with her name. At night, I found myself replaying everything. The dinners, the laughter, the long drives where she reached for my hand without thinking. I tried to understand where the shift happened, the exact moment love turned into performance. It wasn't sudden. It was slow, like a candle burning unnoticed until the room went dark. That realization hurt more than the betrayal itself. She hadn't just lied to me. She had quietly practiced it for months until it became her truth. One morning, after another sleepless night, I opened my laptop and booked a flight. The destination was obvious. I was going to Zanzibar, not to follow her or relive her memories, but to take mine back. I wanted to see the place that had broken me and leave it empty of her shadow. I booked the same resort and requested the same room she had stayed in. The receptionist confirmed it with a smile, unaware of the story behind the request. When I arrived, the air smelled of salt and hibiscus. The ocean stretched wide and calm, pretending it had never been a witness to lies. I walked along the same beach where their photo had been taken. The sand was warm under my feet, and the sound of waves almost drowned out the thoughts in my head. I imagined them walking there, holding hands, laughing without guilt. For a moment, anger rose again. But then I realized I was standing there alone, and that solitude didn't feel like loss anymore. It felt like freedom. During my stay, I did everything she had mentioned in her stories. I visited the coral gardens, ate dinner by the sea, watched the same sunsets she once described. Only now, I was truly present. There was no need to perform happiness for anyone. I wasn't proving anything. I was reclaiming peace. One evening, a couple nearby asked if I was traveling alone. I smiled and said yes. The woman nodded as if she understood. Sometimes being alone isn't loneliness. It's recovery. On the third night, I ordered a cocktail and sat by the edge of the pool, watching the reflection of the stars tremble on the surface. I thought about how much energy I had spent trying to protect what was already gone. Trust doesn't break in one moment. It cracks quietly, in the ignored details, in the half-truths people use to stay comfortable. She had lied about who he was, but the real betrayal was making me doubt my instincts. That was something I swore would never happen again. On my last day, I woke up early to watch the sunrise. The horizon burned with gold, and for the first time in months, I felt calm. I took out my phone and snapped a photo. I stood in the same spot they once did, wearing sunglasses, a cocktail in hand. The difference was that I wasn't hiding. I posted the picture online with a short caption that said it all. Turns out he wasn't the only one who needed a vacation from lies. A few hours later, while packing my things, I saw the notification. She had viewed the post. No like, no comment, no message. Just silence. That silence carried more weight than any apology could. It wasn't closure in words, but it was final. The kind of finality that doesn't hurt anymore. As the plane took off, I looked out at the ocean shrinking below me. I realized something simple. Betrayal doesn't end the story. It just edits the characters. She was gone, but I was still here, still standing, stronger than before. Sometimes life doesn't give you justice or explanations. It just gives you peace. And in that quiet, high above the same island that once tore me apart, I finally understood what she never could. Loving someone means giving them trust. But loving yourself means knowing when to take it back.